Yeah, there's two big looming questions that I don't think we're going to get answered right away. Are the Mets going to be able to sign Lindor to an extension, to a new contract? And what does this now do to the balance of power in the National League East and the National League as a whole? But Dan, starting with you, what is your reaction to this deal?
This is a game changer for the Mets. And if you were wondering when Steve Cohen purchased this team over the winter, if they were going to really make moves, well, the answer is yes. And I don't think they're done. I look at their starting rotation, and you get caught up in Lindor, marvelous player. And yes, I do believe, without question, they're signing him long term. But you add Carrasco to a rotation that's already good. Marcus Stroman will be back into that rotation. Dave Valley, DeGrom, Carrasco, Stroman, Peterson, who made steps forwards last year. Steven Matz, to me, is the wild card. Seth Lugo wasn't very good last year, but he had been good in the rotation. Wants to be in the bullpen. He's bounced around from each spot. To me, this screams right now the Mets are legit. And are they the best team? I don't know in the East because I really like that Atlanta Braves team.
Me too.
But they have significantly closed the gap. And if I'm a Mets fan right now, not only do you bring in one of the top 20 players in the game in Lindor, you bring in Carrasco, who is a bona fide starting pitcher. He's not DeGrom. He's not Syndergaard, but he's a very good, solid big league pitcher, adding to a good staff already. This team is really, really good.
Robert, we heard Sandy Alderson say this is the new reality for the Mets fan base. I grew up in Queens. My father grew up in Corona. Right now, they are doing the cha-cha and the merengue in Corona, Queens right now. This is a game changer, as Dan mentioned, for this organization. The way they are perceived in New York City, the fact that Steve Cohen came in, made some promises. We're going to do something. We're going to do some things differently. This was not what I expected because we've all been focused on George Springer and Bauer and maybe DJ LeMahieu.
Right.
But they pull off a trade for, to me, one of the top 10 players in the game of baseball, a guy who will be the face of their franchise if they can get him signed to a long-term deal. And I think, my gut tells me that will happen for the next 10 years. A guy that they can build their franchise around, their marketing around. This is a dynamic, charismatic player, switch hitter. He's got power. 3 straight years of 30-plus home runs from your leadoff spot. My, oh my, I mean, are you kidding me? This is an incredible transaction here today.
Ooh.
He just automatically puts this, just stamp of approval on this lineup right here to be able to put that switch in. I still put him up at the top. Give me those 30 home runs at the top of that order, and we'll figure out where we have Nemo. But this is a culture change for the New York Mets in New York City. Their fan base is going crazy, including my entire family.
Yeah, that smile, obviously a Puerto Rican kid, and obviously a thriving Puerto Rican community that support the New York Mets. I think we also have what the defensive alignment looks like. We saw the batting order there. You heard Dave say, hey, I'll lead off Francisco Lindor. But Dan Plesac, what jumps out at you here as you look at how this defensive alignment lays out?
I mean, there are a couple of questions, and the main question to me is, are the Mets done? If they're not done, you look at center field. You have Brandon Nimmo there now. Could that be George Springer? All of a sudden, you put Springer into center field along with Michael Conforto and Dom Smith, and or a combination of Dom Smith and Nimmo in left field. You look around the center part of that diamond, it's solid. Now, is it Gold Glove? Probably not. J.D. Davis at third base and McNeil at second. But if they can make the routine plays, their infield just got better by acquiring Lindor. He's going to make everybody better. He's a dynamic player. If I'm a Met fan right now, this has been the best offseason you could have hoped for as a Met fan. You get a guy that buys a team, that wanted to buy the team, a lifelong Met fan who put his money where his mouth is, and he's making improvements. They're going to be a fun team to watch.
Well, every other fan base out there, including the Braves fan base, will tell you, hey, you don't get trophies for winning the offseason. In this division, we still run things.
Still got to play the games. The games still have to be played.
But what do you think, Dave Valley, about the prospect of, do you think they're done? Do you think that this still means that despite this deal, the Mets are still on George Springer, maybe Trevor Bauer, but specifically Springer.
Again, as a Met fan, you look at what they've done on the left side here, the additions, you've got to be very pleased. I know it was just a week ago on Twitter, Steve Cohen and his fan base were going back and forth because they were like, what are you waiting for, man? Come on, get something done. Well, this was just the start. This is, I think, of like those skiers at the top of the mountain that get that avalanche going. If you guys could pull back that defensive lineup one more time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things as I look at the defensive lineup.
Okay.
The one area that kind of jumps out at me is left field, right? So if I'm trying to make a World Series champion, I'm looking at each position and say, okay, can I win a World Series with that guy at that position? And the one spot that kind of jumps out, and there's a couple, but it's Dominic Smith out in left field. He's not a left fielder. Now,
if first baseman.
If the game changes and says we're going to have a DH in both leagues, oh, my goodness. It just solved the Mets' problem.
Right.
It opens up that center field because I think they're still going to be in the running for Springer. If you plug Springer out in center field, Nimmo now moves to left field. You've strengthened left field. You've strengthened center field. Wow. You talk about a team that can contend. The Braves, to me, are still the team to go through. But, boy, I like how they're looking. And also you got Syndergaard might be coming back, too.
That's true.
With that starting rotation.
Yeah, missed all of last season with the Tommy John surgery. And there is so much. It seems that look, you've got a super team in the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're in the National League. I don't want to proclaim the Padres as a super team yet, but they have definitely made a statement. And now the Mets. There is a distinct, there's a lot of power in the National League. It is very top-heavy.
There's power in the National League, and I think the thing that I find ironic is we don't know what the climate is, the amount of games, when spring training is going to start. Is there going to be a universal DH? But two teams have gotten ahead of the curve. The San Diego Padres used their prospects to acquire young players, and they moved players to get back guys that they thought were going to be difference makers. Complete turnaround in their starting rotation in getting Yu Darvish. They make two trades, and all of a sudden they get so much better along with Blake Snell. The Mets have a little bit of both. They give up two really good young middle infielders in Jimenez and Rosario in order to get a guy like Carrasco and Lindor.
Right.
But they also have the pockets. I don't think the Mets are done because they have some money that they can spend, whether it's LeMahieu or it's Springer. I don't think they're done.
Wow.
And to your point, Dan, with the fact that Robinson Cano was suspended, they're saving that $24 million.
$24 million.
So that just frees up some extra bucks for them to kind of say, hey, what else can we add to this lineup or this team to make us better?
Well, he will come back, and they are on the hook for the $24 million for the rest of his contract. I think 2 more years, but obviously not spending that money in 2021.